Hi, in this video we are going to see about the basics of programming in C language, and what we are going to see here is how to get the input and the output and also the arithmetic operators in C. So when we look at the system softwares involved, actually C is a programming language which has brought a lot of revolution in the today's software industry. Okay, because of the invention of C by Dennis Ritchie only, we have got so many other languages and so many products have been developed, and so many operating systems such as Linux and then Mac OS or built after the invention of the C language, which has laid the foundation. And when we look at the language, actually it is a high level language which is used for making the system to understand the human interaction. Why computers were invented was to help the human being in solving certain problems, right? So to give the instruction to the system, the computer, you need a means to communicate. So it is easy when you have like high level languages like C, but this computer, the hardware, cannot understand what is being told by you in the C language. So we need to convert it into the low level language. Actually the hardware can understand only strings of ones and zeros. So we have to convert from C language to ones and zeros. How it will be done is a number of system softwares are involved when you want to execute a program in the system, right? So when you look at the system softwares, these are few important key system softwares that are involved. First one is the preprocessor, right? So preprocessor does some expansion of coding and so on, and next one is the compiler. So what the compiler does is it converts whatever is being said in the higher level language to the lower level language. And next one is the loader. Loader is playing the role of loading the program from the secondary memory into the primary memory. Okay, so the program has to be in the primary memory when it has to be executed. So from the secondary memory, it is being loaded into the primary memory by the loader. The software, this system software takes care of it. And then linker. Linker actually does some kind of connection between the code to make it to be executable, right? So these are all, I'm just giving a glimpse of the system softwares, key system softwares that are involved when you are going to do C programming in your system. Now actually this entire video will be like problem based. We will try to solve this problem, and by solving this problem you will try to understand certain concepts, right? So consider this problem. Little Bob, he is a small boy, okay, he loves chocolates and he goes to a store with rupees n in his pocket. He has got some money in his pocket and the price of each chocolate is C, okay. The price of each chocolate is going to be C. So he is having some money in his pocket and the price of the chocolate is C. These are all variables, okay, and the store offers a discount. For every M wrappers he gives, okay, the customer, whoever may be, for every M wrapper. So here is the third variable, okay, he gives to the store, he gets one free chocolate, okay. This offer is valid only once, that is customer cannot get free chocolate with wrappers of chocolates which they got for free. That is the meaning by this offer can be availed only once, okay. So how many chocolates that does Bob gets to eat? This is the question, okay. So when you look at, whenever you are trying to solve a problem, you have to make an analysis of the problem and understand certain things. First one is you have to understand what is the input required for solving the problem. Actually when we were seeing the problem itself, we saw that there are three variables, okay. All the three variables should be given by the user. So you have to get what is the amount in hand and what is the price of one chocolate, as well as the number of wrappers for which he is going to get the free chocolate. That you should get from the user. And what is the processing is, you have to find out how many chocolates he can buy with the amount he has got in hand. So when you look at the amount that he has got in hand, n, okay. So when you are going to divide n by C, you can know how many chocolates he will get, okay. And one more thing given in this problem is, for some number of wrappers he will get free chocolates. Okay, so when the child is buying P chocolates, okay, he can give these P wrappers and get maximum number of chocolates. And it is given in the problem that for each M wrapper, okay, you will be given one free chocolate. So what you can do, you can just find out what is the quotient of P by M to find out how many free chocolates the child can get. Okay, so when you look at the total number of chocolates that can be bought by the child, first thing is you can find out how many chocolates he can buy with the money in hand. That is the first one. Second one is you can find out how many free chocolates he can get. Okay, so the total number of chocolates is summation of the chocolates that he can buy and the number of free chocolates. Okay, and that will be the output of the problem. So whenever you are given a problem, first step is you have to do this PAC, that is problem analysis chart, in which you have to find out what is the input, what is the output, and what is the processing involved. And this is a pseudocode, or we can say as algorithm. Algorithm is going to be the sequence of steps that are involved to solve the problem. Okay, so what are all the steps that we have to follow to solve the problem? So when you look at the first step, first of all you should know the value of N, C and M. These are all the three variables of the problem. So you should read it from the user, and then you will compute the number of chocolates. Okay, you can compute the number of chocolates by N by C, and you have to find out how many chocolates he can get by returning the wrapper, or the number of free chocolates. For that, what you are doing is you are dividing this num of chocolates. The number of chocolates is bought divided by M, and you have to truncate the decimal parts. You do not want the decimal parts in any of the things, so you have to remove that. This is an algorithm which is independent of any programming language. So we are making it in a very clear way, so that manually how we understand, how we do, that is being said in the algorithm. Okay, and then you are going to compute the chocolate received is equal to number of chocolates plus returning wrapper. These are all the variable names that I have used in the algorithm, number of chocolates and return wrapper. So add both of them and store it in another variable, chocolates received, and you are going to print the chocolate received. This is the pseudocode, or you can think this as an algorithm. Actually, when you are writing the algorithm, you have to bring in the logic involved in solving the problem. Okay, and it should be independent of the language. And when we look at the knowledge required to solve this problem, the first thing is you should know how to read values from the user. Okay, so how to read the input from the user, that one we should see. And what are data types in C? We should know about data types. And then how we can perform arithmetic calculations in C, and then we have to write how to write output in C. These are all the knowledge that is required to solve this problem. And this is general layout of a C program. These are all the sections. The first section will be preprocessor directives. Okay, actually preprocessor directives will be starting with hash. So you have to put a hash in front of it if you are going to use some preprocessor directives. Okay, there is hash include stdio.h. Okay, this header file, when you are going to have built-in functions, you may have to use it for reading the input, giving the output, and so on. For that we will be using the built-in header files. Okay, so we have to include it, means you have to put the hash and then use the keyword include, and within the angle brackets we will see. Okay, and if you have any global declarations, generally we will avoid global declarations because it is not the good programming practice, but it is by language by itself allows. So if you have got any global declarations, you have to make it in this particular place, and then you have to have this particular format, right? Int followed by main. Any program, any C program you write, there should be a main, and we will call this as a function. So how do we indicate that it is a function to the system is, you will write a name followed by a set of parentheses. Okay, within the parentheses you can pass parameters that we will discuss later. but for time being you just understand that main is the keyword or main is the function name that will be searched by the system. When you want to execute the C program, there should be a main, it will be the starting point. Okay, so main followed by a pair of parentheses should be there, and what you give before it is the return type. Actually I am saying that this functions are like modules, okay, small pieces of code that will run, okay, that can take parameters as well as that can return something. Here we are just saying that it will return a integer, okay, and then you should start a curly brace. This is the syntax, you should follow the syntax, okay. This int, it can be actually main can return int or it can be void also. When we say void, you mean that the function do not return anything, okay. So you can put either void before main or you can put int. Generally we will put void, that is perfectly alright, okay. Then it should be followed by curly braces. Within the curly braces you are going to give all the instructions that should be given within main, okay. So here what you are doing is you are giving all the local variables, whatever is within the function we call them as local variables. Actually variables in programming languages represent a piece of memory, okay. It represents a piece of memory and the size of memory depends on the data type of the variable. We will see in detail little later, okay. So why do we say it as local is if it is declared, if it is having the scope within the function, then we will call them as local variable. And here it's the global space where it can be accessed from anywhere, okay, even from other functions, any functions, then we will say them as global declarations, okay. Here whatever variables you want it to be local to the main, you have to declare it within the curly braces in the starting. This is the local variable to function main, okay. And statements associated with the function should be ended with the semicolon, right. And then you can have functions also. So when you have functions, more than one function, generally main is the minimal one function that is expected for a C program, but you can have so many functions depending on your necessity, okay. So the return type of this function, and I have just given some example here. The function name is f1 and it doesn't take any parameters, so we have put empty parenthesis, and the return type of the function is void, and you can give within the curly braces whatever variables that you want to declare within function f1, okay. And whatever statements, don't forget, actually the structure you should remember, for that only I have given. So you should remember that there should be a main compulsory, but this function is optional. So when you are going to have a function, there will be a pair of curly braces within which you will be giving all the statements whichever is related to the function, okay. And you should declare the variables whichever is within the function. Those variables are called as local variables. And when you look at the components of a C program, it consists of comments. Comments are actually statements which are for our understanding, which is not for the system to understand. Those are only called as comments, okay. And then variables. Variables are, as I said, a memory location which will be pointed by, which will be referred by a name, okay. Variable will be name and it will point to a particular memory only. And then there will be preprocessor commands, and then functions will be there, and statements and expressions. So how do we do variable declaration in C? That's what we are going to see. In C we have to do variable declaration. It is compulsory, otherwise you will get an error, okay. So if you want to have variable, there are different types available: integer, float, character, or some of the basic data type, primitive data type can be an integer or it can be float or char, okay. And what will be the syntaxes? You have to say what is the data type, followed by a space, followed by the name of the variable. For example, if I want to declare an integer variable, then I should use int. Int is the keyword to indicate that I am going to declare an integer variable. Int space and then name of the variable. Here the name of the variable is number, and then semicolon. Semicolon is a must in C language. Every statement should be terminated by a semicolon, okay. And I told that comments is also very important, because when you are going to write programs, you have to think and write your logic in your own words for your understanding, because when you are going to look at the code later on, okay, you may not be in a position to understand why you have declared like this, why you have done this, okay. So it is very important that you have to give comments for your code, and also when other people are going to look at your code, they should also understand. It is not very easy to understand code written by others. Even ourselves, we will find it very difficult after a few days. So it is very important to give comments. There are two types of comments present in any language. They are single line comment and multi-line comment, okay. So how will you add single line comment? Single line comment is for actually preceded by double slash, okay. This double slash can be placed anywhere in the program, okay. Wherever you want, you can go and put a double slash and you can write your comment. And then multi-line comment. Actually, multi-line comment means multiple lines can be commented, okay. So it will start with slash star and it will finish with star slash, and these lines will be ignored by the compiler, okay. So let us see a small program, C program. Now I am going to show it in Linux environment, okay. I am using Linux environment, so it will be in Linux, okay. So I have opened gedit and I am saving it with a file with extension .c. You should just remember that all the files extension should be .c when you are writing a C program, and it is very important that you should include stdio.h. This is required for any C program. And then I am going to have a main, right. Now I was talking about the single line comment, okay. Let me say int a, and it should be terminated by a semicolon. This is declaration of a variable a, int a. If I want to add a comment, then I will put with double slash and I can say declaration of variable, okay. This is how we will give single comment. Suppose I want to give multi-line comment, okay. I can do it in any part of the code. I have to start with slash star and I will say like a demo program, okay, to introduce the concepts of C, okay, just saying like this. And when I want to finish it, I have to put a star followed by a slash, right. And what I can do is I have to go to the terminal. This is how I will do in Linux environment, and I am going to invoke the GCC compiler, right. Now I have compiled it, and how will I execute this? Yeah, nothing is actually printed now, okay. So you are not seeing anything, but there was no error also. If there was an error, I would have got the error. For example, if I am removing the semicolon, actually you will get the error. When I try to compile it, you are seeing that expected something, okay, either semicolon or this equal to something is expected, that's what it is saying. So I am adding semicolon, right, okay. So this is about the comment. And when you look at the types of C constants, you can see that primary constants are there and then secondary constants are there. So primary constants are integer constants, okay. Integer constants means I can say like 5, 10, those are integer constants, okay. Real constants means 5.2, 5.3, they are going to be real constants. And character constants, how do we represent character constant in C is by using single quotes. When I use a single quotes and put a character inside it, then it becomes a character constant, right. And secondary constants can be like arrays, pointers, structures, unions, enum, etc. Okay, now we will restrict our discussion only to primary constants. And when you see the data types in C language, basic arithmetic data types are there like integer types and floating point types and so on. And then enumerated types, okay. Enumerated types means they are like variables which can be assigned only certain integer values. They are only called as enumerated data types in C language. You cannot assign whatever you want, you have to assign only within. For example, you want to represent day in a week, Okay, you are interested in assigning only values from 0 to 6. It should not be beyond it, means then you can restrict by enumeration. That is what is enumerated data type. And as I told you in the functions, void means nothing, so no value is available. That's what. And then derived data types, they include pointer types, arrays, structures. This we will be discussing later on. Okay. And when you look at the broad classification of the data type, numerical data types are basically classified into signed and unsigned. Signed means it will be presided by a sign, and you should just understand that basically all the data is stored as only ones and zeros inside the memory. Okay, we have got memory in which the data is stored, and we are going to execute the program by fetching the data from the memory. Okay, because the system what we are using now is built as per von Neumann architecture, which is stored using stored program concept. Okay, so the program is also stored inside the memory, as well as the variables are also having memory, and values are stored there, and then we are going to take. When you look at the storage, it can only hold ones and zeros, and when you look at the numerical data type, it can be either signed or unsigned. Signed means actually you can provide a sign for it, either it can be positive sign or negative sign. So how it is indicated internally is one of the bit. We will say that one bit means binary digit is the full form of bit. Okay, when I say bit, actually its expansion is binary digit. It can hold either a value of 0 or 1. Okay, collection of bits are only called as bytes, right? And when I say signed values, the leftmost bit will be reserved. Actually memory will be allocated in the terms of bytes, and when we say you are going to store signed value, the leftmost bit will be reserved for indicating the sign. 0 will indicate positive and 1 will indicate negative values. Okay, and unsigned means all the bits will be used for storing the value, like that. Okay, no reservation of one bit for the sign. And when you look at this data types char and bool, actually they are unsigned. Characters do not have sign because internally char and bool are also integers only, right? Though we have like separately for character, bool is just indicating by means of the integer value what is getting stored only. 0 is false, other than 0 is true, like that. Okay, and in some cases you may have to use unsigned data type. For example, age cannot be negative. Okay, so in that case you can go for unsigned data type. And when we look at the memory allocated for char, 1 byte is allocated. Okay, unsigned char, 1 byte is only allocated, but you look at the range of values that can be stored. When I simply say char, one byte means 8 bits. Okay, one of the bit is reserved for sign, so its value can be from -128 to 127, or in some compilers it depends on the machine in which we are going to work. In some cases what happens is it allows from 0 to 255 also, but when I say specifically unsigned char, definitely no reservation for the sign bit, so you will have 0 to 255. When I specifically say signed char, you can say like this, signed char, then the value will be from -128 to 127. Integer, when I say int, 2 or 4 bytes. Okay, nowadays all the compilers have started giving 4 bytes because the system itself is going to be of 64 bits machines. We have got higher end machines, so accordingly the memory is going to get allocated. Nowadays 4 bytes are getting allocated for integer, and when you look at the range of values, it will be from this value to this value. So when you want to work out it, you have to see what is 2 power. 4 bytes means 32 bits. Okay, leave 1 for sign. Okay, so 31 bits can hold the value. So 31 bits can have zeros or ones combinations. So minus 2 power 31 2 plus 2 power 31 minus 1. Why? 0 has to be there. So the positive side you will have 2 power 31 minus 1. Okay. Similarly, unsigned int means it will be from 0 only, 0 to this. If it is a 2, nowadays 2 bytes are not getting allocated. All the machines now what you purchase now or 64 bits. Okay, So this will be the range of values that can be stored for unsigned int. And short, when you specifically say a short, these are called as qualifier for the data type. When I specifically say short int, then I am forcing the compiler to allocate only 2 bytes. Okay, in that case the value can be from this range. And when I specifically say unsigned short, then no negative values, so the value will be from 0 to 65535. And long int, okay. So when you say long int, 4 bytes are only getting allocated, okay, and it will be of this range. Unsigned long means you will get 0 to, that one signed bit reservation is removed, so 0 to this value. And when you look at the floating point values, float is the minimal real data type what can be there. For that 4 bytes will be allocated, and this will be the range of values. 6 decimal places are reserved. So this is the precision that can be there for float data type, float variables. And double means totally 8 bytes are going to be allocated. And when you look at the range of values, it is from 2.3 e power minus 308 to this one, and 15 decimal places are reserved. Long double, okay. Long double means totally 10 bytes are going to be there, and you will have a range from this to this and 19 decimal places. Okay, next we are going to see about the keywords in C language. There are certain keywords which are reserved and we should not use it as variable names and so on. Okay, so when you look at the keywords, auto, break, case, char, double, else, these are all some of the keywords. Okay, so these keywords should be carefully used and we should not use it as variable name and so on. And when you look at the variable names, how it can be formed is, it can be with characters. Okay, capital letters can be used, small letters can be used, underscore can be used. The only special character which can be used is underscore. And they can have numbers, but numbers should not be in the beginning of the variable name. So when you look at this basic salary, this is correct, okay, all with capital letter allowed. Underscore basic is also correct. But when you look at this basic hyphen is not allowed, so this is wrong. And hash mean is also wrong. Group dot is also wrong because dot is not allowed. And 422 is wrong. And here what happens is you have got space within the variable name, which is not allowed. And float, actually it will differentiate because C is a case sensitive language. Whatever you give in capital letter is different from what you give in small letter. Though this is a keyword because it is going to be a data type, but C may allow it because it's in capital letter, but generally it is advised that do not use keywords, let it be in small case or capital case, do not use it, right? And then this is allowed, you can start with small letter or with capital letter. Next we are going to see about how you can read the input in C language. So when you see the input, how it can be read, there is a function scanf. Scanf is used for reading the input from the user, and when you look at the syntax of the scanf, basically it requires minimum of 2 parameters. First one will be the format string and the next one will be the address of the variables. Now let me show a demo to make you understand. Already we have got the skeleton code, isn't it, int a. Now if you want to read the value of a, then what you can do is you can use scanf is the function name. Actually it returns the integer. When you look at the functions, its return value can be definitely ignored. There is no problem at all. But when you look at the parameters, you should pass it. The first parameter that is expected for scanf is the format string. Okay, and scanf. So strings should be enclosed within double quotes, and there are predefined letters for each of the data type. So when I am going to have a integer variable, I should put a D. That percentage should be there, always percentage should be there for starting the format string, followed by the letter, okay, indicating the data type. Now I am going to read an integer, so it should be percentage D, then comma, okay, and then the address of the variable. Actually the variable name I know a. If I want to know the address of the variable, I have to put an ampersand in front of it. Okay, this is how I will read a value of the variable. Okay, scanf is the function name, Okay, you should be very careful when you are going to write it. Then within the double quotes you have to give the format string, right? You can read one by one the variables, right? So you have to give the format string, instead of format string, percentage will be there, followed by the letter, okay, for the particular data type. Here we are going to have integer, so you should have it as D, okay, and finish the format string, comma, address of the variable. Here when you look at the variable, A is the name of the variable, but you do not know what is the address, but you can get the address of the variable by preceding it by the ampersand. Precede the name of the variable by ampersand to get the address of the variable. This is how you will get the read the input. Okay, now when I am going to compile and execute, it is waiting for me to enter the value. Okay, next we will see the syntax of print and proceed. Okay, next print. How to print something in C languages? There is a function printf. You can see it. Actually, there is a function printf in which you will have a string and may be followed by some of the values. How? We will see with example. So now I want to, first of all, before reading the value, I want it to be more interactive. So I am going to give a string, enter a value. Okay, I am going to give this. So I can give a string like this, merely a string like this can be given. Is it clear? I want to make the program to be interactive. So before reading the value, I want to print something so that the user understands what is expected by the program. Enter the value of A. I am going to say like this. Okay, and then I am going to read the value from the user and store it in the variable, and after this I am going to print what has been read by the code. So I am going to say value of A is, and here I want to print the value of the variable. Then you have to follow the format string. Okay, how to say percentage. See, whenever there is format string, it will be beginning with percentage. Okay, percentage followed by the letter indicating the data type. Now I want to print the value of A here, so I will be saying A. Okay, you can say like, it can be followed by something also. The value of A is this one. Okay, got it. Let me put something more. It can be followed wherever you want. You can have this one to make you to understand. I have given some text followed by that also, right? Okay, so now I am compiling it. See, it is asking me enter the value of A. I am giving. Okay, value of A is 12. Got it, right? So this is how you will read and write. Okay, this is IO. This is how you will read the input as well as you will print something. Okay, scanf and printf, these are all the two important function, and you should remember the syntax about it. Be very careful about scanf. Don't give any space or anything inside. The first argument of scanf should contain only the format string. For example, okay, now I am going to bring those variables NCM. Okay, I am taking the Bob problem, right? I am going to say enter the, okay, let me make it more meaningful. Enter the money, cost and free chalk. If I am going to say like this, then I am going to read three variables. You can do like this also. You can read one by one or you can read all together, but don't leave any space, or there should not be a comma or anything within the format string. As beginners, I have seen many students making this mistake. Please don't do that mistake. The format string should be containing only the percentage followed by the character of the data type what you are going to read. Okay, right? So I am going to read three values, and let me say like n. Okay, 1 minute. I can say like value of money. Okay, I can say like this, money is, here I can use whatever I want. In the printf you can use whatever you want, comma, and cost of chalk is percentage %d, comma, and I can say number of free Okay, percentage D. I can say like this, and I can include here N comma C comma L. I should be careful in giving in order. Now I can compile the code, I can execute the code. Now it is asking what is the money in hand. Let me say 19 rupees is in the hand of the child. Cost of one chocolate is 2. And for each 3 free wrappers it is going to do. Okay, like this. Then you see how it is beautifully printing. The value of money is 19. Cost of chocolate is 2, number of free wrappers is 3. Okay, I hope you are clear about the IO statements in C language, and you have to know more about only the formatting. Okay, because it depends on the data type I told you. So you have to give D if you are going to read an integer in decimal representation. Decimal is the normal representation we generally follow. Okay, but in some case if you want to read it in octal or hexa, then you have to know how it can be done. In that case, instead of D you have to give O for octal and X, either small x or capital X for hexadecimal numbers. When you want to read octal number or hexadecimal number, you may have to use O or X, but that is very rare that we use it. Okay, generally for integers we use only D, and LD is for reading long integers, and U is for unsigned int, LU is for unsigned long, C is for character, and S is for character pointer. That you will know when we are going to see more about strings, and F is for float, and LF is for double, okay, and so on. And always you should remember that how you will get the address of a variable is very simple. Just put a ampersand before the variable name. And next what we are going to discuss is about the arithmetic operators in C. When you look at the arithmetic operators, you will be very much familiar with addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So look at plus, minus, star, slash. As in mathematics only you are going to have. These 3 operators are only different. Percentage is for modulus. Okay. So when you are going to make a division, for example, when I say 5/2, actually you will get only the quotient. Okay, but if you want to get the remainder, then you have to put percentage. As I say 5%2, then in that case you will get remainder. And also there are increment and decrement operators available in C. How it will be helpful is if I want to add 1 to the existing value of variable, only 1, always 1 means you can just put plus, okay, and minus. If I am saying, okay, I will show it in demo better. Okay, these things I will show. Okay, so these operators you are clear. Now what we will do is we will try to solve the problem, right? So you have got the values. Now I want to know how many total chocolates the child is going to get. Okay, so I am going to have few more variables. Okay, chocolate bought, I am going to say chocolate bought, free chocolate. Okay, chocolate bought, free chocolate, and then total chocolate. These are all the variables that I am going to have. After reading these things, what should I do? First of all, I will calculate how many chocolates are bought by the child. Okay, chocolate bought equal to, it is equal to the value of money. Okay, the value of money in hand of the child, that is N. Okay, divided by C. C is cost of one chocolate. And when you look at this, actually it will do basically something called as integer division only. In C language, how it is look at the operands. Slash is the operator and N and C are the operands. When you look at the operands, both N and C are integers. When both the operands are integers, then automatically the system will do only integer division. Okay, so the decimal part will be automatically removed. If I am saying 5/2, it is only 2. It is not 2.5 because it does integer division. How the system decides is looking at the operands. When you are applying division, it will look at the operands. Okay, what is the data type of N? It is integer. What is the data type of C? It is also integer. So ultimately it will do an integer division only. Okay, chocolate bought you will get, and then next I have to find out how many free chocolates the child can get. So how many free chocolates the child can get? from the wrappers of the chocolate bought only it is going to do, and divided by m. So once again, when you look at the data type of the two operands with slash, chocolate bought and m, both are integers. So once again it is going to be integer division only. For example, I am having 15 rupees in hand, going to a shop, I am going to buy something which is of course 2 rupees, then I will be given only 7 items. For example, chocolate, no one is going to open the wrapper and give me a half chocolate for the 1 rupee I have, okay, like that. So we are interested only in the integer part of the division. Okay, free chocolate you have got, and total number of chocolate is equal to chocolate bought plus free chocolate. Now I am going to print total number of chocolates got is, I want to print a integer value, so I am just saying percentage %d, the format string you should never forget, and then total chocolate. Okay, so actually this will be the solution that may be required. Let me say there are 19 rupees in the child's hand, 3 is the cost of 1 chocolate. So how many chocolates can be bought? 9 divided by 3, 6 chocolates can be bought by the child. Okay, now I am saying that for every 2 chocolate, 2 free wrapper, 1 free chocolate will be given. Okay, so 6 chocolates is bought, so 3 free chocolates can be bought, so you will get 9 totally. Yeah, let us see. Okay, value of money is this one, it is printing, and total number. See, you get a clumsy output. Can you see it? Why? Because C language print the things and it is just going to leave the cursor in the same position. If you want to move the cursor to the next position, then you have to put \n. This is very, very important that you should know. When you are going to print something in C language, it will print whatever you say and the cursor will be standing in the same position only. Okay, so when I am going to give the next print statements, it continues from there. So you can see that it is very clumsy, it is not neat, isn't it? So you have to take care to move the cursor to the next one. So let me give the same input. 19 is the total amount of money in the child's hand, 3 rupees is the cost of 1 chocolate, and for every two free wrappers, every 2 wrappers you are going to get a free chocolate. So you will see the total number of chocolates got will be 9, 6 by the money and 3 as free chocolates. Okay, hope this gives you a good introduction about the arithmetic operators. One more thing that you should know is, when you are going to have multiple arithmetic operators. Okay, for example, I am going to write expression. Let me say like P is equal to N plus M into C. I am just writing, there are 3 variables, okay, N, M, C. I am just writing a random expression. Okay, which one will be executed first? When you look at this expression, there are 2 operators, plus as well as star. Which one will be applied first? To understand this, just recall Bodemar's rule that you learnt in your school. Okay, what does that say? Bracket of multiplication and then division, addition and then subtraction. Okay, the same rule apply here also. Okay, by default it will do multiplication only, so it will find out what is M star C and then add it with M. If I am going to replace this with some values like 3 plus 2 into 4, what will be this? 2 into 4 will be first executed, 8, and then plus 3 will be 11. Okay, it will not be 3 plus 2 into 4. If it evaluates as 3 plus 2 into 4, then it will be 20, isn't it? No. The Bodemar's rule only here also given as precedence of the operators. In programming language we will call as precedence of the operators. So after we discuss all the operators, we can just have a glimpse about the precedence chart that is getting that I will show you. Okay, before that let me just show that this happens to you to convince yourself that Bodemar's rule is implicitly done in C language. Let me say in int P, I should declare a variable, otherwise I will get a error. Okay, so value of PS. Okay, value of PS. I have to print the value of the variable P there, so percentage D I should give, and then P. Okay. Yeah, you can see that P is 11 because multiplication is done first. If you want, I will execute again and show. Okay, multiplication is done first and then only addition is done. If I want to override the precedence rule, then I can put within brackets. So Bodemo's rule says that you should evaluate what is within the bracket and then you have to apply the operators. So 2 star 4, okay, this will happen naturally, isn't it? This is the natural thing that happens. I want to override means I have to put this within the bracket. So when I put this within the bracket, as per the rule, 3 plus 2 will be evaluated because that is within the bracket 5. 5 into 4 will be 20. Okay. This is called overriding the default precedence. Okay, so there is a order of precedence that is given for the operators. Okay, we will see more operators and more precedence in the forthcoming lectures, but now you have to know that these are all the arithmetic operators and they are getting like this. And one more thing I want to show is about increment and decrement operator, which I told you, right? So I told that you can put a plus plus, but where you can put, this is the variable name, where I can put, you can put in either place. Okay, let me say plus plus. Okay, P. Then what I mean is you are going to increment the value and you are going to print it. Okay, so I will show. Yeah, this is 6 and I can say P plus plus, in which case you will see that it will print the value and then increment. So you will see that now it is printing 5, but after using it, it will increment. So this is called post increment, and when I put it before the variable name, I call it as pre-increment. Okay, so increment and decrement are indicated by plus plus and minus minus. That will increase the value of the variable by 1. When you want to increase the value of the variable by 1, you can go for this pre-increment or post-increment according to your necessity. Okay, so when you will go for pre-increment is if you want to increment the value and then use it, then put it before the variable name. If you want to use the value after using the value, I want to increment means put it after the variable. So now you see that when I put it before the variable name, what happens? I am just compiling, and you can see that the value of P is 6 because I have done pre-increment. Suppose if you are doing post-increment, now I have put that plus plus after the variable name. In this you will see that the value of P is still 5 here, but after this print it will become 6. In the next line itself it will be 6. This is how. Similarly, decrement also works. I can put minus minus in front of the variable name or after the variable name. Okay. This is post decrement, right? Now we will see that it is 5 only. After that it is going to change. If I put minus minus in front of this, then the value will be 4. Okay. Hope this is clear. This is about the IO operations and arithmetic operations in C language. And one more thing that is left out is associativity of the operators. When associativity will come into picture is, for example, if I have 5 plus 4 minus 3, okay, when you look at it, actually the precedence I just compared and told like equivalent to Bodemas, it is not equivalent to Bodemas, it is similar to Bodemas, that's all. So when you look at the precedence, actually plus and minus, both of them have the same precedence. When you look at the multiplication, division and mod operators, they all have the same precedence. So when you have more than one operator in an expression with the same precedence, which one should be done first? That is decided by the associativity of the operators. Okay, generally most of the operators have left to right associativity. Only few exceptions are there, that I will tell you later. So when you look at this addition subtraction operators, they have the associativity from left to right. So first of all addition will be done and then subtraction. Okay, so 5 plus 4 will be 9, 9 minus 3 will be 6. Okay, so let me execute. Okay, here minus minus is there, otherwise you would have got 6. Okay, so 5 plus 4 is 9, 9 minus 3 will be 6. This is about the associativity. Okay, we will conclude the lecture here and we will discuss more about in the next lectures. Thank you.